That's caught. Randall Cobb into Chicago territory. Randall Cobb inside the 20-yard line. Randall Cobb is going to score.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Open Book here on Game On Wisconsin. I'm Eli Berkovitz, here with Zach Jacobson as always. And this week, we are honored to welcome Dusty Evely onto the show. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
No, nailed it, man. Yeah, you put an R in there. You nailed it.
Perfect. But yeah, Dusty, obviously anyone watching this show and follows Packers Twitter knows Dusty very well for his amazing film breakdowns and articles he writes all over Packers Twitter and the Packers sphere. And we all appreciate the work you do for us, Dusty, breaking it down, making it easier for us fans to understand what's actually happening on the field. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Yeah, you bet, man. I mean, you know, I've been a fan of yours for a while. We've never talked. Zach, we've talked a few times, and you're perfectly fine. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Exactly. Perfectly fine. It's a great way to sum it up.
I have the Dusty seal of approval. That's all I need. I can go on now. That's all. Put
that on your resume, man. This should be good. Any job you want.
I'm throwing that on my bio. Yeah, screw the resume. That's going on my Twitter bio until I get suspended again. Of course.
That's right.
Yeah. Might as well just hold off on your bios. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we dive into football, I thought it'd be fun, Dusty, just maybe a quick background for the listeners on yourself. I'm sure they've all been following you for years on Twitter. Maybe don't know that much about you, so how you maybe got into becoming, a Packer fan and working in it and all that.
Yeah, my Packer fandom story is I think a fun one. I'm from the Detroit area originally, so all my other major sports are all Detroit based. My grandfather was a Lions fan, and he took my grandmother to a Lions-Packers game. And I've heard multiple versions of the story. The one I choose to believe is that she wanted to piss him off because she was mad at him that day. So she bought a Packers pennant and decided to cheer for the Packers, and then brought it home to my dad, and then that was that. So I was really, really close to being a Lions fan, if not for my spiteful grandmother. So it's
thank God for that. That's saved by your grandmother.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, I'm a Packers fan my whole life. I've been living in Kentucky for 30 some odd years at this point, and got into the film stuff just from the landscape has changed so much, man. When I started doing it, it was just the All-22 became available, and it was why do these things happen? It was more like safety playing and receiver stuff. Like, how does this guy get open? Why did that happen? So I just wanted to dig in, and there weren't a whole lot of people writing about it. So I thought, let me see what I can do here. And I just kind of fumbled my way through it, and still kind of fumbling my way through it. That was 2013, I think I started roughly. So been a bit.
I think you were like one of the first guys I think that I personally saw like doing the All-22 stuff. Like, I think you were like I don't want to call you like a trailblazer or anything like that, but
yes, please don't.
But just to spite you, I think I will. I think you really were, because once you really started doing all those clip cut-ups and stuff, and you kind of like, I don't know if it was like a software you used or something that would like use like the HD clips from like straight from the actual All-22 coaches film. Then a bunch of other people started doing it. Then it just became like a big thing across Packers Twitter. Yeah,
Dusty, you were my inspiration for sure. So.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, Zach. I mean, and maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But that's why I started doing it. I never planned to write. I was curious about like, why does this stuff happen? And so I think at the time Game Pass was like $50 when they first launched the All-22 stuff, and I was just like, I want to look at this because I'm curious. That's it. And I first started doing, I just got an iPad, and I wasn't doing videos. I was legit just watching them. I was sitting in my chair watching it on my iPad, and then going back and forth and screenshotting. And then I was just looking at the screenshots of everything and watching every piece move. How did this happen? How did this happen? And it was because I couldn't find anyone else writing about it. So I thought, well, if I'm interested in this, I'm sure other people are as well. And so that was kind of the start of it. And then, yes, but eventually more people, and the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now, the passing stuff, is because everyone started doing stuff. People were doing general game breakdowns, and I kind of wanted to feel like I was doing something a little different, and I was interested in the pass game. So I'll just dig into the pass game because everyone else has got the general stuff handled. There's so much great stuff out there that if I can find a lane and just kind of just sit in that lane for a little bit, I figured I could be happy there. So it's been 7 years. That's changed so much. There's so many more people doing it now. It's really amazing the amount of information out there.
Yeah, I guess you picked a pretty great team to focus on passing concepts when you get Aaron Rodgers to be your focal point. So
I've got lucky, man. Yeah, if it was the Eagles, like watching the Eagles or Bears lately, my God in heaven, I would have quit by now, I think.
that Bears game on Sunday, I think we can all agree was just what we needed.
Yeah.
Especially on Soldier Field, all 22.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. No, I just wouldn't have done it. I just you can break down the broadcast, but I think you break down Soldier Field.
Yeah, no, Soldier Field all 22 is not really usable. But Dusty, everyone knows you're a huge horror movie fan. So let's get our first question in from the fans. Lambo LeBeau 13, thanks for being here again. So Signs with Mel Gibson, why is it the best horror movie or movie in general of all time?
Listen, man. So when Signs came out on DVD, I was sick with the flu for like a week, and I watched that movie probably 10 times in the span of a week. I love that movie. It's my favorite Shyamalan movie. I mean, it's not my favorite horror movie by any stretch of the imagination, but man, when the alien like walks across the field of vision in the home video, like I still get goosebumps. It's a really fun movie. I love that one.
Yeah, I'm not a personally huge horror movie guy, but Dusty, you were coming on the show this week, and it was perfect timing. I didn't decide. I was more forced to watch a movie called The Poughkeepsie Tapes. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah, no, that one will mess you up. You're not going to sleep for a while.
That is not normal. No, that is way beyond my level of horror.
Yeah, no, you don't start with that one. That's what you eventually get to because you feel like you need to. But yeah, no, there's scenes from that. There's some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen in movies. In that movie.
Is that real? Is it a real movie?
No,
so
it's not.
Okay. My brother chirping in my ears is real, getting in my head, but I'm happy to know it's fake because that was honestly the most disturbing thing I've ever seen.
Well, the history of it's really interesting because they made that and then you couldn't find it. And so they lost distribution. I can't remember the Dowdle brothers, I think is who directed that. But it was this like, it was weirder because at the time you could only find it at horror conventions. It was almost like this weird like snuff film type quality to it.
Yeah, they removed it from like people. I think that makes sense. They should not have given it back to people because I have not seen that in the world all week. But yeah, I just wanted to say you've seen that movie, and I'm happy to know that you can agree it is quite disturbing.
Oh yeah, no, that'll mess you up. I feel like I'm a relatively seasoned horror fan, but that movie messed me up pretty good.
Yeah, so good. I'm gonna yell at my brother later. But let's get back to football.
Should I even ask?
I don't think you want to ask, but
found footage serial killer, right? Basically, it's found footage serial killer in upstate New York.
Yeah, a home footage. Everything is like filmed from himself. Just it's really beyond even describable. Definitely not something I would want to do on air.
I mean, I've seen like the Human Centipede movies and stuff, so I mean, like, I feel like I can handle.
Do it, Zach.
Yeah, go for it. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe. Go for it. And please let me know how you feel.
It's really well done. It's really good, but it'll mess you up a little bit. So yeah, have at it, Zach. Let me know.
All right.
So yeah, let's get to this Eagles game because it was, for the most part, a pretty fun game to watch. There were some moments of some nervousness, but overall, a really solid performance. So Dusty, why don't you kick us off with what was the biggest thing you took away from this win over the Eagles? Obviously, you had the quarterback switch on the other side. So there's a lot of moving parts, but what really stood out to you on Sunday?
I mean, I think Jones, one of the big things was Jones. I mean, they've been that kind of 50-50 split with him and Jamal Williams for the past, really since the calf injury. Yeah. So seeing Jones I think he was, up over 60% of the snaps this past week for the first time since that injury, and seeing him get the ball. And I mean, he had that big 77-yard run, and that's kind of the big thing, but he was running hard. So I mean he wasn't going down. There's a number of times when he got hit and he'd get another 4 or 5 yards. And so I mean the stat line without that 77-yarder is not insane or anything, but he just seeing that we hadn't seen that out of him since the calf injury essentially. So just seeing him out there and doing that I think was really encouraging, just ramping up for the playoffs here.
Yeah, it's nice just to see him. I agree. I just think he needs to be on the field more, even if it's with Jamal. I just think he needs to be on the field as much as he can take as a coach, because I feel like he has more in him than we're seeing. But what about you, Zach? What was your number one takeaway?
My number one takeaway was really just the pass rush. I mean, they registered 7 sacks. That's 10 in their last 2 games, and 2 of them from Kingsley Keke. I mean, he doesn't end the game with 1 sack. Apparently, that's 1 sack isn't good enough.
Yeah, he always had at least 2 in all of his sack games, right?
Right. Yeah. He had 2 against the Saints, I think.
Yeah.
So he came on. Rashawn Gary really had a good game. Zadarius Smith, really that whole defense front. I mean, Kingsley Keke even said like they're ramping it up right now at the best possible time going into December, going into this playoff slate. And that's really important because they've been sporadic all season. We've seen kind of Preston Smith. He was doing a little disappearing act for the first part of the season. Then he really showed up in that Texans game, kind of, really, really made an impact for the first time. And he's just been sporadic ever since. But really the last couple of weeks, I know, some variables need to be taken into consideration. They were going against the Bears and a really shaky Mitchell Trubisky. I get it. And this week they were going up against a really weird offensive line who they were going through another combination. They've been going through combinations all season long. So that needs to be taken into account. But still, you should be dominating those types of matchups. When you have an inconsistent offensive line in front of you like that, who has been playing together like the Eagles did, you should be dominating that. And the Packers did.
Yeah, it's nice to see that finally. And I think, we have to talk about this meeting that the defensive, Zadarius seems to have been the leader of this meeting with Mike Pettin about changing up the defense a bit. And that has clearly shown on the field the last 2 weeks. We're seeing a lot more man coverage, bump and run. They're bringing more pressure. And I think it's pretty clear by what we've done the last 2 weeks with 10 sacks, a handful of turnovers, it's making an impact. And this team, it has the personnel to do that. As we've always known, real quick, Istanbul, Turkey makes an appearance. Hello, thank you. Sync 7. I got to start writing down all the countries because we're going all over the map here. An open book. And
I'm gonna show up next week, and right there on the wall, I'm gonna have a map, and I'm just gonna have little pins in every single part of every country we're in.
You can read?
Well, I try to. I struggle, but I'm getting better by the week.
That's awesome, man. I'm proud of you.
Working towards
Thank you. Baby steps.
But yeah, so I'm really excited about the fact that they felt like they could go to Pettin and talk about it and then make these adjustments, and it seems like it's actually making a difference. And real quick, just show this Kingsley Keke sack, one of them, because it was such a sick move over here. Just Jason Peters, I know he's a tackle, but this is a 17-year vet, and he just totally fools them. We'll go slow motion here in a second. He breaks his ankles as if he's a point guard with the ball right here. Boom, boom.
He's got the hands working like he's doing the between the legs dribble and everything.
Yeah, literally, yeah. That was for a defensive tackle to move like that and get around the guard on the interior is very impressive to me. I thought it would just be fun to point out that. Yeah, I'm excited about Keke next to Clark and overall this performance by the defense. But let's turn it over to the offense. And obviously the biggest story, I think, would be number 400 for Aaron Rodgers, going to Davante Adams, and he caught 2 touchdowns on Sunday. Adams, is this the best we've seen a quarterback, Rodgers with a receiver in his career, maybe with Davante, Dusty?
Man, I think Janelle's watching this, so I have a hard time saying yes. But man, it's either 1A, 1B, right? The connection you have with Jordy. Part of that is you're looking back at it, and that's how much does nostalgia cloud. But that really was the connection you have with Jordy, and then even some of the there's Janelle.
Watch your mouth about Jordy.
Yeah, I know. Everyone knows Jordy Nelson's terrible. But like even some of the scramble drill stuff with Cobb, Rodgers had a really good connection there. But yeah, just seeing, I think Adams talked about it even this offseason. It's kind of like that mind meld is starting to take effect a little bit more. And they are on the same page. It's tough for me to say exactly, but man, it's real close. They seem to know what the other one wants to do immediately.
Yeah, so real quick, we got one person very offended by the Jordy comment. But look, being a huge Jordy fan myself, and obviously their connection was extremely special also. But, right now, yeah, you can argue, like you said, 1A, 1B, or just right next to each other. Because Davante, what he's doing, it's just ridiculous. If you played a full 16 games this year, who knows? We could be looking at records that we've never seen before. So that connection is obviously something that we're all very excited about. But one thing I thought was interesting about the game was Rick Wagner getting the start at tackle with Runyon going back to the bench. Billy Turner sliding back at guard. What were your thoughts on that, Zach, and how you thought that surprised me personally? I thought we were going to see Bakhtiari and Turner at the tackles, and then bring in Runyon at guard, Jenkins at center, and Patrick at guard, but didn't work out that way. What do you think about Wagner starting?
See, I thought that same thing too, and it turns out, just like everything else I try to predict with this offensive line, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Don't agree with me. What the hell? But Matt LaFleur, he always talks about putting the best 5 combination on the field, and he clearly felt. I mean, John Runyon. I don't think they're in a position where they need to force starts with John Runyon. He's good to have right now, where if someone gets hurt in the middle of a game, you can kind of plug him in there. He's been practicing, kind of like as a contingency plan. You can kind of plug him in the midst of a game, and he can give you really good reps. But they're not at a point where they're desperate enough to have to give him that start. I mean, Lucas Patrick is good, very good, I should say. And Billy Turner, he has that experience at right guard where he played all of last season. Rick Wagner, you gave him that contract the offseason, so the least you could do is kind of, give him some playing time, here and there. He has that experience at right tackle as well. So I mean, that's their best 5 right now. And I think John Runyon right now as a rookie, which really it's not an indictment.
Yeah.
Not indictment.
Yeah, not an indictment. Yeah.
It's not an indictment on him to say that he's probably like just barely on the outside looking in. He's a rookie, drafted in the 6th round, and he's given them really, really good stuff this season. When he come into games here and there, so he's probably one of their future starters at the interior.
Yeah, at some point, I would imagine. Yeah, he will be starting. And real quick, I mean, just because Jacob, I kind of have this responsibility. Zach, whatever. Look, Dusty was coming on. I would understand the need to freshen up and look very adult filmish.
I have had this for the last several weeks. All right,
so Jacob, maybe you should tune in more often, and it wouldn't be.
He's fake. He's fake, dude. He acts like my friend. He acts like he supports us, but he never watches. So it's fine.
But here's an interesting question from, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Sukhveer Singh is what I'm going to go with. So do we think Matt LaFleur would ever value obtaining a true slot receiver? So that is something we talked about. I feel like a lot of the offseason was either drafting a slot receiver like Justin Jefferson, or when there were some free agents, even like a Kenny Stills, or people were talking about Cobb at the trade deadline. We don't really have a clear, obvious slot receiver on this offense, but they've clearly managed to work around that, including putting Devontae in the slot at times and stuff like that. So, Dusty, do you think adding a true slot receiver would make much of a difference, or do you think LaFleur's team is good enough where you could really plug anyone in there and they'll be open?
I think I've had people ask me this before, and I think part of it revolves around, like, I don't know, how do you define slot in the terms of, like, in terms of what they run, because they run, I mean, not a ton. We see them run spread. They run a lot of stuff out of different personnel, but they run a lot of stuff out of that compressed look. So is your slot, I mean, Nelson, I think is running, 30% of his snaps or something out of slot. You can run a bunch of different guys out of that, but if you've got a compressed line anyway, you've only got 2 wide receivers split out, 5 yards or something. Is that considered a slot receiver at that point? Like, it's the slot area, but it's not, the inside. He's the widest guy on the field. So, I mean, I think that's part of it. I mean, I think LaFleur is very, very good. I know there's been lots of talk before the offseason of, like, kind of the like big slot, like kind of like the AJ Brown mold, like a guy that can line up there, that's got the quickness. And for me, I mean, I'm a big EQ guy. I mean, he's not quite that size of AJ Brown, clearly, but he's a big dude. And you're looking, when I think about slot, you think of releases, right? Which is why Adams is so good, where you can go either way. So kind of that footwork, it doesn't necessarily matter how big you are. It's what you can do on that release, how are your releases, how are your hands, what can you do there? And so a guy like EQ, I think, is really, really can thrive in that role. If he stays healthy and if he kind of comes along a little bit, just because he does have that skill set. So for me, I mean, when I think of true slot, I always think of, like, oh, he's 5'10" or something, a shorter guy, which certainly helps with the cuts, but it's more a skill set thing. So, I mean, I do think that's something they will likely look at. I think Cobb would have been tremendous in this offense, but I don't think if they don't get a true slot, then this offense is never going to reach its full potential.
Yeah, and real quick, just speaking of EQ, I think he missed practice today, so that'll be something to keep an eye on moving into Sunday. But Zach, how about you? I mean, just overall the offense. I mean, clearly right now they're humming. They're nothing stopping them all that much. So do you think it matters all that much to really target in the offseason a true slot receiver, or maybe just add more talent and let LaFleur do with it what he does?
See, everything Dusty just said is wrong.
It's fair.
No, just kidding. See, going into the season, I thought I was on the EQ hype train. I was like, oh, this is probably going to be their slot guy. This is probably going to be the guy that's going to be playing in that role. He's going to be getting snaps in that role, but obviously fate had different plans. The thing with Matt LaFleur's offense is there's so many guys doing so many different things, so many guys that can play in so many different roles and have that kind of like, I don't want to say that gadget-esque skill set, but you have to be able to do so many different things. So Devontae Adams can play in the slot. EQ can play in the slot. We've seen guys rotate kind of in and out. So much of that pre-snap motion gets guys into just favorable positions. And like Dusty said too, some of that footwork is also, the footwork is predicated on some of those guys getting open, what they're able to do after their release. So as long as you got footwork off the line, that's going to be that's going to be important. And also, like Lambeau LeBeau said, I also agree that slot, kind of like that stereotypical prototype slot receiver that we've seen through the years. Yeah, like Wes Welker, Cole Beasley, Julian Edelman, Randall Cobb. That's kind of like fading out. You're seeing much bigger guys, and a lot of people thought this was only like specific to Matt LaFleur's offense. Those big body slot guys. Him going after big receivers, like when they drafted EQ, when they drafted MVS. That's not necessarily true. I mean, we're seeing offenses kind of around the league, kind of move in that direction.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, I mean, first off, got a lot of Wi-Fi talk in the chat. So, yeah, Zach, your Wi-Fi is getting torn to shreds. And then Dusty's Wi-Fi is getting a lot of praise. Dusty, you've got some sharp Wi-Fi in Kentucky. Zach, you're in LA and you can't even get good Wi-Fi. I mean, unbelievable. But
I don't know. Well, I don't know if they're saying that because my Wi-Fi is usually garbage or if it's actually good right now.
Well, right now it's actually good, but there was a couple moments where it was a little bit, but no, it's actually looking good right now. But
fantastic.
It kind of threw me off my own train of thought, but now I got it back. And this is going to be interesting now. It looks like Tyler Ervin. So just quick update on injuries for the Packers. Tyler Ervin, Billy Wynn, and Raven Green were all put on IR today, which obviously sucks, but they signed Tavon Austin, and he basically fits that Tyler Ervin role pretty perfectly. So, Dusty, I mean, I know on Twitter you were very clear that you liked Tavon Austin, but so I guess, do you see him as an upgrade over Ervin, or you think you could basically do the same as him, or what do you expect out of him?
I think it's tricky, right? Because I mean, better is kind of I don't want to get into a whole thing, but I mean, if you look at say like what Ervin did last year, they brought in Ervin towards the end of last year. They brought him in as a returner, and then they kind of steadily gave him snaps in the passing game until they felt he was good enough to kind of take some more. And it wasn't until this season that he kind of took over a bigger role. And so we talked about a bunch of talk the offseason about the second year jump for LaFleur's offense and all that stuff, and that's true of a lot of players in this system. It seems like specifically. I mean, I think Austin's going to get out there. I think they're going to put him. The offense suffers. We don't have that motion guy kind of run a lot of that jet sweep, but they've got better personnel there now with Lazard healthy and Taylor's running some of that stuff as well. But Austin seems like the guy that could make that hum a little bit more, just his skill set. But at the same time, it's kind of they just signed him last week. Yeah. And so I think you can use him a little bit. You can use him a lot of times, that jet sweep stuff. You kind of plant yourself in the flat a little bit afterwards, make a guy miss in space, do whatever, which Austin could do. But it really becomes a much bigger threat if you can actually if you know the offense a little better, if you use it in different ways. The whole thing is predicated on misdirection, right? And so if you have shown an ability to do that, then that makes you more dangerous. That makes your team more dangerous. But if Austin has just gotten there and they don't know, if he's not fully in the offense yet. He's not going to be running all that stuff. So then how does that hurt them? So it's to me, I mean, his skill set makes perfect sense as far as how fast he picks up this offense and what they do with him. I don't think he's going to be as effective as Irvin. I don't think they're going to be using him as much as they did to Irvin, but I do think when he's out there, he'll be used in roughly the same way. I don't know if I answered the question at all.
No, I think you definitely did. But Zach, Zach, what are your thoughts now that it looks like Austin's going to be the clear, jet sweep guy and probably returner?
Well, I think the fact that he has that first round pedigree, I think that immediately kind of gives him that upgrade and just what he's done in his previous career, just what he did with the Rams. I think he was misused in Dallas. Really, he didn't really get much attention in Dallas, I should say. And who really knows what he would have done in San Francisco? He never really got his opportunity over there. But I think just his experience with the McVay offense, the Shanahan offense, in that brief month that he was there. I mentioned this last week and I wrote about it. He said he learned 100 plays, I think, in 4 days, which is impressive in itself. I think all of that is going to kind of help expedite his process and being able to help him kind of prepare to take over a role in this offense. And I know it doesn't necessarily pertain to his job as a return man, but it's like Sean Menenga even said it. It's like those guys. It's like instinctive to them. Those return guys. It's a habit. I think right now he's their de facto return guy. He's going to step right into that role and he's going to be able to just kind of just ease into it. And I think a lot of people, Tyler Ervin, he felt like a godsend last season in that first Redskins game, just because the Packers were so bad on special teams. Someone needed to drag them out of that rut, or they were going to be in the record books for all of the wrong reasons. So, everybody just kind of like hyped him up. They loved him, and he's been practicing in this pre-snap motion man role since training camp. So now he's gone. I think Tyler Ervin, Tavon Austin, I think he's going to be a very clear upgrade, just from a skill set standpoint, from an experience standpoint. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm excited. Just based off my Twitter feed, based off everything I've wrote, based off of how I'm talking about him. I think Tavon Austin's he's gonna have an impact. He's not gonna be Desmond Howard or anything, but
no, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about him also. But just to stick on special teams for a second before we get to some film, we've had a couple weeks now. Sorry about that. Wrong one, real quick. but we keep getting burned on these punts, and even also on. Our kick coverage. It just seems year after year, regardless of the coordinator or the personnel, it just seems to be bad. It just always seems to be awful for sure on punt returns. So I don't even want to get into J.K. Scott missing the 2 tackles he missed, because number one, if he made the tackle, fine, they'd be at the 10-yard line and would likely score anyway. So I don't think we're going to sit here and talk J.K. Scott should be a backler. I think this goes down more to Meninga and the personnel and how is this happening and repeating to happen, whether on kickoffs or punts. So, Dusty, I know you like to focus more on passing concepts. When it comes to special teams, have you noticed anything or seen anything that this team is doing clearly wrong that is allowing for these massive returns? And because it seems like giving lifelines to teams that have no chance, and like they're giving them their chance with these punts.
They're doing everything wrong. Not everything wrong, but you've got first of all, J.K. Scott, they should be in a position to make those tackles, but also he's been just horrendous the past.
He's been really bad.
Like even in that Colts game in the Dome was terrible. But I don't know a ton about special teams, but I do know that when you're watching the replays, when you're watching that stuff, and you're just seeing kind of where the bodies are, you will consistently see those long returns, 5 guys in the same lane.
Yeah, the line.
Yeah, kind of all stacked up. That's not supposed to happen. You get that, and all those guys that makes them really easy. It's like you're just corralling them. You're just kind of putting them out of the way, and you create your lanes. And so it's some of that. I think I don't know if it's players. Some of that's I assume it's got to be coaching. Some of that is it's at that coaching point. You stay your lanes. You stay in your lane. You keep that integrity there. When you're coming down, you limit that, and it's just far too often you see those replays and go, oh, there's a group of 4 guys in the same area. Oh, there's another group of 5 guys that are in that same area in those lines. That it's just anytime there's a big return, you see that over and over again. It's
Yeah, and
It's
that's
maddening because it's like 15 years at this point.
exactly. Yeah, and we get near, to the playoffs. It's not the time to be giving up special team touchdowns or 60-yard returns, even if it doesn't go to the end zone. So, yeah, I think, but a big part of it, even though the coverage has been bad, J.K. Scott has been bad. He really is not. He's not putting air under the ball. He's not kicking it very far either. So he's not even giving his coverage a chance to really cover. So they have a lot of work to do on special teams before we get to the playoffs, which it seems like you said, Dusty, every year we have a little bit to worry about on special teams. But let's start looking at some film because, like I mentioned when we opened, this was a pretty fun game with a lot of fun plays. Now, Dusty and everyone listen, my film will not be of the quality of Dusty's film breakdowns, but
You do awesome, man. You do awesome, Eli. You're great.
I appreciate that. But we're starting off with one that actually Zach pointed out to me, and I think it's a pretty great place. So I believe this is it at full speed, and then we'll slow it down. We'll slow it down for you. But watch Devontae over there. Just do like the mesh, just that simple cross. Look how open he gets. Rodgers hits him off the play action, gain of about 20. And now watch this as we slow it down. Okay, we're gonna slow it down. Devontae's coming. Now watch Slay and the safeties. They're going in the wrong direction. Slay's staring at the ball. Everyone thinks this is a run. Look at Rodgers extend the arm, really put it out there. And then look at the linebacker. Got sucked in by the run fake. And all that room for Devontae to run in behind him. No one's covering Devontae. Just wide open, easy pass. So those are just some of the things that we didn't see with McCarthy where you just made it easy. These mesh routes, the misdirection. You got the MVS motion is what brought the safety over from the start. And then the play action, obviously. Oh, wow. I didn't see that. Wow.
I think me and Zach were both waiting for you to notice.
Yeah, I saw your face.
We were waiting for his reaction.
Yeah, I missed something in the comments clearly. All right. Ellie's film is better than
Brandon's been coming with the heat today.
Yeah, Brandon, you're not messing around today. But back to that. So just we've seen this a ton out of them, just the mesh concepts. And earlier in the comments, if I could find it, Dusty, Jacob wanted to know if you loved mesh or your firstborn more. You can maybe keep that answer to yourself, but yeah,
my daughter's name is Mesh, so it's really easy answer.
It goes hand in hand.
It's right. It's really nice.
But I mean, isn't it great to finally see a coach making it easier for Aaron Rodgers, and it doesn't always have to be incredible? And so you see a play like that, and we see so many variations of that. So is that kind of like what we're talking almost with the slot receiver? Like you're seeing guys just getting schemed open, regardless maybe of the skill set or what they bring or their size or speed, whatever. So looking at that play and overall that concept of theirs, how are teams going to be able to stop them? Because it seems like every week they're getting these wide open crossers a couple times a game at least.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways they can crash a little bit more, and you've seen teams do it a little bit. I mean, that one there, you got that PA boot, and they ran that 4 times this past week, and I think 2 weeks ago they ran it like 8 times, and the Tanyan touchdown the previous week was off a variation of that. So they have different ways to run it, and the action's all the same. So like you said, I mean, you pointed that out, Eli, with you got those guys moving, and they're moving because that looks like a split zone run, which they'll run a ton of times a day. It looks the mechanics are the exact same, and a big part of that I think is not necessarily like prototypical or stereotypical like slot receiver, but what those guys can do, right? Because you've got, one of the guys coming under the line, the guy who typically will come under the line in that flat on that concept is Tanyan. Tanyan will run that a lot. They'll run Lazard or something, but you have to have you have to have a guy that can block, or at least is willing to block on that, because when that's a run play, that's split zone. That guy's coming under the line, he's blocking the backside guy, which kind of helps open that stuff up. If you're running a guy out there, you don't see MVS. I think he's done it one time, releasing under the line, because teams know he's not blocking split zone. They're not putting him back there to do that. And so for me, it's less about you think of positions as you've always thought of them, and it's more, that's why I was so excited about DeGuara, is kind of what he could do. It's more, what can you do with the pieces you have? It's more everyone saw the Packers loading up this past offseason and where they're going to go more run heavy. Well, the idea has always been you tie that to the run, you make everything look like the run, and so you can open up these other things. So I mean, there's ways to stop it. We've seen I think when the Dolphins shut down the Rams, there was a whole bunch of just blitzing off the edge and shutting down that boot. And I mean, Rodgers is better than Goff, and so we've seen them come with that stuff before. And Rodgers will throw off platform to the flat guy or something, and something Goff can't do. So I mean, you can make these things uncomfortable, but they've got so much of this stuff set up now, and you're starting to see now like they're motioning Lazard under the line on that stuff as well to kind of behind that tight end, and they're setting stuff up that way as well. So they're still sprinkling in these wrinkles. So you can there's ways to stop it. It's just with I think the marriage of LaFleur and Rodgers clearly. I mean, you've got your scheming guys open, but Rodgers is going to make the right choice 9 times out of 10, 99 out of 100, I guess. So
exactly.
It's real hard.
Having Rodgers makes it a ton easier on LaFleur, calling those plays and all that. But yeah, Zach, that was I didn't notice that play when I was doing my initial review to put plays in here. So that was a good call by you because I mean, real quick. Just one more time, just because it was just the motion by Irvin, the play action. This whole Eagles defense is going left. Everyone's drifting left. Everyone's looking left. And then it pops back the other way with just all this open space. And Rodgers hits it. And then look at the throw by Rodgers as he falls away kind of with someone in his face, just flips it over. Boom, nice and easy. So you love seeing that. But now let's take a look at the catch that basically broke the Packers internet, at least. The throw and catch by Rodgers and Adams. I mean, here we have it in a full speed. This play is just ridiculous. To be honest, there's not really much to break down play-wise. I'll show you in a minute because there's only one route other than Aaron Jones.
One man.
It was really one-man route out of the end zone, which is so crazy. And then, I mean, that window is just ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous to make that catch there. So the one thing I want to show you is where the safety starts, and everyone's thinking it's a run. It's first down from the 1 yard line. And now look where he ends up. Everyone sold on that run. It was first down at the 1 yard line, and they take a deep shot. That is the aggressiveness and the ballsiness out of LaFleur that we didn't see a lot of out of McCarthy, and it clearly made a huge impact there. It sucked the safety in. Devontae had plenty of room to run, and then they obviously made a great throw and catch. So Zach, I guess, looking at how many teams, first and goal at your own first down at your own 1 yard line are going to pull a play action deep shot out from that. What does that tell you about LaFleur and kind of show defenses just at any time you could be taken deep from anywhere?
Well, it's a testament to not only the trust that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae have with each other, but it's a testament to the trust that Matt LaFleur has in his quarterback.
Yeah.
Just to be able to make that play, which is funny to see that now in December after all the offseason bullshit we all of us went through and everything. Oh my God, they hate each other, they want to kill each other, this and that. And I want you to pull up that play one more time because the linebacker 49, if he keeps going, I mean he's right there at the second level. If he keeps going and he doesn't decide to drop back in, I mean he has a clear lane right there, straight to Aaron Rodgers. Before he even decides to drop back into coverage. I feel like when I was watching that, if he decides to keep going, I mean he has a clear shot at Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, either I think it was either Turner or I think Jenkins. They were both double teaming a guy. I'm assuming they would have probably disengaged from
Turner's kind of looking like he's looking to come off at that point, I think. Yeah. If you watch, he's at that right guard spot. You can see it.
Right. Probably would have disengaged.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But there would have been a clear lane to Rodgers there that could have brought serious danger for sure.
It's one of those, if that didn't work, like it's a one-man route and there's no escape options for Rodgers. So there's not really a clear throwaway there without getting intentional grounding. So it is one of those, thank God it worked, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like that it's a good thing that ended up really, really, really good because it could have been really, really, really bad. Rodgers even said, I think he was on the Pat McAfee show, he said, as soon as he let that ball go, he said, "Oh shit!" Because he knew he underthrew that. It was in triple coverage, and it was just. I mean, that's a ballsy throw, but it's just so much trust to just make it play.
No, I think it's a good point by you to bring up. Yeah, for LaFleur because not many coaches are going to say, you know what, at our own 1, let's do a play action bomb. You have to really trust your quarterback to make the right decision in that place, and I don't think LaFleur would have done that last year. He's clearly learned with Rodgers that you could trust him in just about all scenarios. So, yeah, I love seeing that. And then we got to look at the Aaron Jones run. It's not a passing concept, Dusty, so I'm sure it'll be very boring to you.
Just
But
gonna mute myself at this point.
exactly. But this play was
Sorry,
so great, and I wanted first watch MVS. Watch MVS block. He goes in motion, and watch him follow him, and watch how he corners off these two defensive backs, giving Jones just nothing illegal. Watch how he blocks in the back, just getting in their way to open up that lane to keep Jones going. So many players would just shove them in the back and get that block in the back penalty, or they would get out of the way and miss the block completely. Watch MVS just trail him the whole way and get just in between them. Nothing illegal, nothing crazy, just smart football. And MVS, that's what he's always been. He's been a good block. Look at that block. He just right there got the guy out of bounds, and that led to the end zone. So we have MVS blocking, 70 yards downfield. That's a receiver that, is probably pretty normal. But then you go and you look at David Bakhtiari, who's 311 pounds. Look where he starts the play, and he just doesn't stop. He doesn't give up. He doesn't care how far down they get. And look, Bakhtiari doesn't really even touch anyone. It's look at this move by Jones. I slowed it down a bit. But watch MVS, Bakhtiari. You even got Aaron Rodgers down there.
Rodgers is looking for someone to block. He's thinking about it.
To just pancake. He's waiting for some contact. I mean, you've got 6-7 guys 70 yards down the field blocking for your running back. That is extremely encouraging, I think, for a team as an offense. Everyone together. There was no quit. All those offensive linemen, they could have stood there at the 20-yard line and watched that run for 70 yards. They didn't. They ran down anything they could have done, including the quarterback, they would have done. They were all there ready to make that block. And I just love seeing that. I love seeing the effort out of all 11 players on the offense on a play that they're not touching the ball or not even involved in. So, Zach, looking at that, I think that, again, kind of goes with the second year of LaFleur offense, everyone buying in. And you look at a play like that, I feel like with the passing game we just showed with Rodgers and that run out of Jones, this offense just seems unstoppable, at least from the outside.
Yeah, you've seen kind of Aaron Jones. I don't want to say he's like kind of disappeared the last few weeks, but you've seen kind of like a little bit a dwindling of his carries. It's more of a split. As Dusty mentioned at the beginning of the show, you've seen Jamal Williams kind of get a little more work. I want to really point out Marquez Valdes-Scantling on that play. You pointed out, he was hauling ass. He had to slow down because he caught up Aaron Jones so quick, which is crazy. He cuts across a field right there. He's completely out of the play, and then he catches up to Aaron Jones and has to slow down, and then cuts off those two defenders and just helps kind of pave the way there. That's for a guy who doesn't have a single catch in his last 2 games to still be impacting plays like that. And we see it's on film. It's in the middle of games. He's blocking guys. We see it, every week. He's in the midst of plays doing things like that, the little things. And I know everybody's freaking out about his drops. He dropped that bomb from Aaron Rodgers, which is really frustrating. I know it's just the type of player he is. And I think at this point, we just kind of have to live with it. He's in year 3 right now. I feel like it is what he is. But he's doing little things like that. And what I tweeted was that's what Aaron Rodgers means by guys embracing their roles.
Yeah.
When even though they're not getting a target, they're not impacting the stat sheet, they're doing things like that so their teammates can thrive. So the rest of their team can just help kind of like just carry everybody else to victory. So like that play, like that Aaron Jones run, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's in the middle of it. He's blocking guys, cutting guys off. That's an example of it.
No, it's nice to see. Yeah, like you said, he's not been as involved in the passing game. He obviously had the big drop, which was disappointing. But I basically tweeted the same thing. Is like, this is MVS. We know at this point he's going to make some big plays, and unfortunately, some might drop through his hands. But knowing that you didn't touch the ball all game, but you're still going 70 yards downfield for blocking, that shows you're totally bought in, whether you're catching 7 balls a game or not even getting targeted. It shows that you're going to put the effort out, and that obviously is very important for any team, especially ones going to the playoffs, hopefully. But to wrap up our film session, I just wanted to throw this on here because it's not offensive, and we usually do that, but I was just obsessed with this play by Adrian Amos. I put it on Twitter. I just think this is the play, these kind of plays we missed from him and Savage earlier in the year. The way he read the read option, goes back into coverage, comes back up. It's going to slow down here. Look at this. He covers Hurts on the read option, sees he still has the ball, looks back, sees Goddard, goes into coverage, flips his hips back. Nope, Hurts is going to tuck it. And then boom, flips on the Jets and makes a great tackle, wrapping him up and not allowing him to get the first down. I just thought that was extremely skilled. So, the way just looking back, flipping his hips, going and making that tackle. I don't remember safeties that did that for the Packers in a very long time. I mean, obviously
he's had a great last few weeks.
Yeah. I think for obviously Savage, again, he makes a second appearance in a row on the wall. Look, when you got 3 interceptions in 2 games, you're going to get on the wall. And we're seeing Amos and Savage step up. And that was a big part of the early season struggles, was out of the safety position. So Dusty, going forward after, Za'Darius and some people talked to Mike Pettin about the pass rush, and now we're seeing the safeties step up their game. Do you think this defense can start really looking the way it looked maybe the last 2 weeks going forward? Or was it more we played the Bears and the Eagles?
A little bit of both, maybe. I mean, one of the things I was going to point out on that Amos fell under the route from Ertz, and Ertz was being covered by Preston Smith, which, fun. I think there's a couple things going on. I do think hopefully Pettin's listening to players. It sounds like he is. Fewer 3-man rushes, and I think they played Wentz and then Hurts and then Trubisky kind of the same. They didn't do a whole lot of stuff up front. It was push with the 4-man, make him uncomfortable, and then force them to make a difficult throw, and they could not. So that's not going to happen every single week. But we did see some more man this past week. And beyond that, you point out Amos, and we talked about Savage. Savage, they're figuring out how to use him. He's playing a little more towards the line. He's trusting his instincts a little bit more. He's kind of coming on. If Kiki's coming up a little bit too, Kamal Martin's looked good when he's been out there. I feel like just as it goes on, just if even the scheme is the same, the players are starting to get a little more confident. The players are starting to come on a little bit more. So, I think there does need to be a shift. And if the past couple of weeks we've seen it, that's great, because you can't rely on players just getting better and that taking over. But I think it's tough to say. We'll find out. But I do think, the defense has played quite a bit better, regardless of who the quarterback has been. I say that, but they haven't played quarterbacks in like 3 years.
Yeah, but you know what? Look, when you had games against the Vikings and Jaguars, maybe teams they could have done better against, and they didn't. So even against bad competition, not playing down to them is something that's obviously exciting to see from this defense, because they usually would do that. We had one more question here I wanted to get to. Oh, yeah. Well, what do the 2 doors lead to? It's very mysterious doors I got here. One of them leads out of my room, and the other one leads to my closet. So, yeah, I've got mad doors up in here. But we have a game to preview, a divisional game real quick to take a look at coming up this Sunday. I feel like football is like every day of the week this year, and I can never tell what the weeks are, and it's already Wednesday. I feel like it's Monday, so I'm thrown off, but this game's coming up a bit. And like I mentioned earlier, Packers injury report, I believe only EQ missed practice, and there was one other guy missed practice.
Jay Sternberger.
Yeah, Jay Sternberger. Yeah. So we saw him leave the game early, I believe, with a concussion. So yeah, Sternberger and EQ both didn't practice. Everyone else practiced to some capacity. On the Lions side, Kenny Golladay did not practice, while DeAndre Swift was limited with an illness. So looking at this game, the Lions, doesn't matter what their records are, they seem to always put up a good fight against us. It's never an easy win, especially in Detroit. So going up against this team now, they might be down Kenny Golladay. Who knows if DeAndre Swift is back? So, Dusty, I guess why don't you kick us off? What you're looking for out of this team against a team that is a divisional rival, so it's not an easy game, but it's definitely a inferior team. So what would you want to see out of the Packers as a nice, convincing win on Sunday?
Oh man, just get out of there with a win. It's interesting because the Lions just fired their defensive head coach that played their guys way out of position. They just fired him 2 weeks ago, and so I think we saw a little more man this past week out of the Lions defense, and so that's kind of a little more zone because they had been really man heavy. Is this kind of what they're going to be going forward? But just what I'm looking for, just in general, for how to attack them, their linebackers are garbage, man. Like they will bite on every single play action fake, like get up to and as close to the quarterback as they possibly can before that ball is thrown. So I mean, they're going to have room behind. I'm looking for like a bunch of play action. And but you mentioned it, they're going into Detroit. It's a division rival. They've always have a tough time up there. I think they win, but I think it's closer than it should be, and just weird. Just a weird game, just because it always seems like it's a weird game.
Always, right? The Lions always somehow end up weird. Special teams gets involved, refs get involved, weird things happen. So I agree with you, but I guess just for fun, what would be a general score prediction in your mind?
Oh man, let's go 31. Packers win 31-25. Like closer than it should be. Stafford is still good. I mean, I feel like the defense is going to be slightly better, so they're not going to put up 50. But we'll say, I'm going to say 31-25.
Super Bowl 45 score. I'll take that. Zach, how about you? What are you looking forward to in this game over here versus the Lions?
I mean, it also depends really on if they don't have Jeff Okudah, which I don't think he practiced today. And
Okudah, I don't believe he practiced either. No,
okay, well, see, there you go.
He's been really bad though, so I think I don't know if that's where you're going. Okay,
I was getting there. He struggled pretty badly, I think, in that first meeting against Davante Adams, if I remember correctly, and that was also the game that Davante Adams left. He had 3 catches, 36 yards, and he dropped out with that hammy. So, I'm looking forward to really seeing him kind of get a full workload against this defense. And like Dusty said, the linebackers are really bad. So I think a lot of kind of like intermediate stuff is going to be in Davante Adams' future on Sunday, kind of getting him an opportunity to get some yards after the catch. And Aaron Jones also had a really, really, really big game against the Lions. And now he's going to be playing indoors on turf. But, I agree. I get a really uneasy feeling every time the Packers go into Ford Field. I don't know what it is, but it always just feels like there's some weird. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. It's also
the Lions add a weirdness to most games that most teams can't offer.
They do. They really do. And as Dusty said, they fired Matt Patricia. They got Darrell Bevell, who Aaron Rodgers. They have that little familiarity from his rookie season. And they're coming off of this big morale spike after last season, that 10-point comeback, I think, in the fourth quarter over the Bears, which was really funny. They're riding high right now. They're going to be a pretty tough opponent, and I think a lot of people are going to kind of overlook that based off of what happened in week 2 between these two teams. So, I'm never going to discount Matt Stafford. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, but I think the Packers end up winning 27-20.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're both right in the terms that it's not going to be probably as easy as maybe just looking at the record would indicate. But I will say this, and this is just a theory that I've mentioned before on this show when it comes to quarterbacks, but I also think it goes kind of with head coaches. It feels like every time an interim head coach comes in, like that first week, the whole team really rallies around them. They somehow get a win. You saw this year, Raheem Morris, they beat the Vikings like 40-9 or something in Minnesota his first week. And Bevell came out, and that's what happened. The Lions had a crazy comeback win over the Bears, and their spirit and energy should be up. But I also feel like now it's the second week, and now they're back. That energy of a new coach and the new feel is kind of it's setting in, and it's not so exciting anymore. And I think it actually helped the Packers. Like, I'm much happier that Bevell had his first game as opposed to if the Lions fired Patricia yesterday, essentially is what I'm saying. I would hate, I don't like facing a quarterback in his first start, and I don't like facing a coach in his first start because you just don't know. I think it helps that the Packers saw Bevell coach versus the Bears. And yeah, it's not going to be an easy game, but they should win. They're a better team. They're playing in a dome. But like you said, and most importantly, Matt Stafford, because he is maybe unlike any other quarterback with his ability to come back in games is just so ridiculous. Even if he doesn't win them all, you could be up 42-10. That game will end up being 42-30 by the end of it, and you don't even know how it happens. So Stafford always adds stress because he never goes away. And yeah, we've had some tough games in Detroit. So I'll also go with a more conservative score prediction. I mean, the offense should still have their way. So I'm going to go 34, but I'll give the Lions 24. 34-24 Packers. I think the Lions put up a decent fight. At the end, the Packers come out with it, but I'm going to be mostly looking at the defense to continue to build off the last 2 weeks, get pressure, force turnovers, and just play man. Be more continue to be aggressive. Stop being soft. Stop giving teams free yardage on both passing plays and run plays with guys playing so far back. So yeah, I'm really excited about this defense being more aggressive. And Zach, did you give us a score prediction?
Yeah, 27-20.
Oh, yeah, 27-20. Okay, so final thoughts about heading forward. We're going into the final quarter of the season for the Packers here. 9-3, 1 game out of the first seed. So 60 seconds or less, I would say. Dusty, what is the one thing you're most looking for out of these last 4 weeks that give you hope that this team could go all the way through February?
I think just Aaron Jones continuing to get healthy and just the way they use him. I think, the passing game, we talked about, the passing game is looking really good. The running game, I feel like, has gone fits and starts a little bit. I think the past 2 games they had over 150 yards. Before that, I don't think they cracked 80 for the previous 2 games. And some of that kind of goes with the how the game was going and everything, but they were getting stuffed a little bit. So yeah. I think Aaron Jones getting healthy in both the run game and the pass game. There's a bunch of different factors, but for me, when he's right, what he can give you in both of those areas can just be huge. So if they get there and then just can continue to keep getting pressure on the quarterback, I think that's a pretty good recipe right there.
Yeah, that's the formula right there. I like that. Zach, what about you? What's their key to really be that contending team we all want them to be?
Not to quote Johnny Cash or anything, but get a rhythm.
Yeah. Offensively,
defensively, Aaron Rodgers, he's playing probably some of the best football since 2016, maybe even 2014. Get a rhythm on offense, stay in that rhythm. He's playing within the designs of the plays, within the design of the offense. He's trusting everything in front of him, and it's beautiful to see. Defensively, the safeties are playing confidently. They've really, the last few weeks, they've come into their own. They're trusting everything in front of them. And Jair Alexander is playing the best football of his career. He's ascending to top 2, top 3 cornerback status, arguably even top 1.
Yeah.
And the pass rush is finally beginning to impact games, and that's obviously when you impact the quarterback and you generate a pass rush, then the rest of your secondary is going to benefit. So that's what I'm looking for. Just getting a rhythm, staying in a rhythm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just because we haven't mentioned his name, but by the way, Rashawn Gary, this guy looks like everything we were kind of hoping. He's making plays. He's making impact plays. He looks so fast. When he chased down Jalen Hurts, and I think he got him, either tackled him or he forced him to run out of bounds for like a 2-yard gain. His acceleration, I don't know if you guys know the play I'm thinking of. Zach, like you do.
His motor, yeah,
his motor is just terrific.
Which
Eli, so did you just get a buzzer? Did Jacob buzz you because you didn't mention Rashawn Gary yet? Is that what just happened? We're getting close to the end.
We're talking about
that was what that Slack notification was.
Yeah, you heard that, right? It was get Gary in the show. Yeah, get my son in there, according to Jacob. But I just wanted to mention Gary because we didn't. But I'm obviously very excited. Kind of like what Zach mentioned with Preston starting to make plays. Gary is really starting to make plays as well. And I kind of want to echo almost what Dusty said, because for me, it's kind of been simple. I think Aaron Jones needs to be as involved as possible in this offense, both running and passing. I just think he's a game changer. But then it really just comes down to the defense, plain and simple. Aaron Rodgers 9 out of 10 times is going to put you in position to win the game on offense. It comes down to defense, just not being awful. Just make the plays that you should make. Force pressure, because you have the personnel to do it, to force pressure, and you have the personnel to even blitz and have some faith that your secondary could hold up, especially with the way Amos and Savage have been playing the last 2 weeks. So kind of like what Dusty said, just almost like old school football. Get Jones going, get your defense going, and that's going to lead you through the playoffs, because whenever the Packers run into problems, it's usually because either their defense is awful or they have no run game and Aaron Rodgers has to be Superman, and that doesn't always work out. So I agree with you on that. Get the defense going, get Jones going. And that basically covers it. Dusty, I want to thank you again so much for coming on the show. It was awesome. And also just know that I'm going to sleep a lot easier at night knowing that the Poughkeepsie tapes is fake, because that was messed up.
Listen, I had to Google that after I watched it because I was like, I know this is fake, but at the same time, I need to be 100% sure.
I mean, I Googled it and everything said fake, but my brother refused to allow me to believe that it was fake.
It looks real, man. It seems real.
I mean, those actors are pretty incredible because I believed it. I believe that it was real.
Mhm.
Zach, if you want to do it, I believe it's on Amazon Prime. If I don't see you next Wednesday, don't blame me. It might mess with your mind, man.
You're gonna have to find a new co-host. So.
All right, Dusty, that's it. You just set Zach up to watch this movie, and now he's done with Packers Twitter overall.
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah. That was his plan all along. That was his plan to get me out of here.
Zach's getting suspended and kicked off at some point anyway, whether I did it or someone else did. It's just a matter of time, right, man?
It's been him all along.
Yeah, by the way, me planning this for months. Get you into open book. I'll watch the Poughkeepsie tape. Put it out to you, and then you disappear.
It's what we call the long con.
The long con, exactly.
I respect it. I respect the commitment, honestly.
So good. So Zach, if you go missing, it'll be Dusty or Janelle fighting out for a new co-host, or we could just go all three of us. It'll be great. But yeah, Zach, if you do watch that movie, I wish you the best of luck. And yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe just don't do it. I don't think it's worth it. But everyone who listened in, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back next week. Hopefully at 10-3 and potentially with a clinched playoff spot, maybe even a clinched division. A lot of stuff to watch. We'll see you all next Wednesday. Thanks for watching. We're out.